What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch, making some money, investing in fractional real estate online as usual. Today, I want to talk about something I think that a lot of people, in my opinion, are doing wrong when they're investing in fractional real estate. I think that one of the things that I see a lot of people do, and again, you want to make sure it's clear, my opinion, right? Like just because I'm doing things in a certain way doesn't mean that you should. You want to do your own due diligence, all of that stuff. I'm sure I'm going to tell you this again as we go on. I'm sure you're sick of hearing it from me, but I just want to make sure. Um, one of the things that if you're an investor, you really have to, y- you know, be doing what you're doing for reasons that you understand that fit your particular situation. And so, maybe some of the people are doing this because it makes sense, but my guess is they just haven't put a lot of thought into it. So what are they doing? They're not taking advantage of what I think the biggest advantage of fractional real estate is. And that is for the first time ever, you can have a pretty small amount of money and get a fantastic amount of diversification in real estate. Up until these platforms came about, you could you basically had to just get a lump sum of money, go and buy your own property, or maybe invest in some other people's deals, but they have a minimum check size of 5,000, 10,000, 25,000, or more. I've worked with groups that had a minimum check size of 250,000. Now, I wasn't investing with them, but I worked as an employee of companies that would work, on that level. I'm not putting that much into anybody else's deal ever, but I would do it $50 at a time or $25 at a time, on some of these platforms. And so I see a lot of people, and now I've gotten to meet a lot of you, and please do feel free to keep reaching out, letting me know that you invest. That if you ever want to talk, if you want to reach out through Discord, I'm really open to that. My goal of doing these videos, I've talked a lot about wanting to help a lot of my would-be clients who are not ready yet to invest in properties in real life. I'm trying to find places for them to invest, and that's why I'm checking out a lot of these platforms. But I've really come to realize that I think this is the future of real estate. And so I'd love to, connect with other people that are in this community that are, we're, even though some of these have been around a couple of years, we're all really early adopters. I think the more smart people that are thinking about these sites and communicating and giving feedback, the better the future of this is going to be. Um, and that's now, I think, a lot of the direction of what, when I'm talking about these, I'm hoping to a little bit affect that. And yeah, especially now that I've had the chance to talk to quite a few different founders of sites, and a lot of them are open to feedback. And so, definitely looking forward to meeting more of you as time goes on. But so let me get back to what I think people are doing wrong. When I say they're not taking advantage of that diversification, um, one, I think, they pick a platform, all of them, and I think that it's, people are tribal, right? And they want to just decide like, okay, this is the one that's the right one. And now, all these other platforms aren't for me. And, I spend a lot of time on Lofty. It's one of my favorite platforms. But I also put some money in Groundfloor, and I'm going to keep putting money in Groundfloor. I put some money on Mogul, and I'm going to keep looking for properties on there. Um, Now that I understand Saul's Lot a little bit more, I think I'm going to put some money on there. It is, being a smooth brain real estate guy, getting my money onto there. I had a little hang up, and so I'm going to go back. They actually have a little video now on how to set up the wallet that you have to accept their tokens. But I'm in those three. Doesn't mean those three or four. Will be four pretty soon. Doesn't mean those are the ones that you should pick. But I do think it's important to pick more than one, right? Like because, and this is the big mistake is people are trying to be right. They're trying to, they'd rather be right than to make money or to set themselves up to, not get crushed, right? There's the people that chose Landa, for example. I think a lot of those people are unhappy now. And I think that, you know, instead of trying to be right, I'm trying to spread myself, I'm still trying to do due diligence and pick platforms that I think I can succeed on. But I'm not trying to pick which one is the best and going all in on that. And I think that that's, one aspect, but not just platform wise. I think people are doing the same thing with properties. You see, there are a lot of people talk about like, oh, I'm in these four properties or these three and it's not. I don't think it's a matter of, oh, I don't have a lot of money. If I if I had $500 to invest and I was going to invest in Lofty, I'm going to buy 10 tokens. I'm going to buy, and actually my average token price is probably closer to $25. So I'm going to buy 20 tokens, right? Like it's not, or 25, 20 tokens. It's, yeah, well, I should be able to do that mental math, right? Yeah, 20 tokens. But, it's not that, I don't think it's a matter of money, right? Like, so I think it is a matter of people, they want to look at everything and they want to pick one and say, okay, this is going to be the winner. And so why do I have this one up right now? I've been talking quite a bit, and just let you wonder why we're looking at this one here. This is the short-term rental in Shelby, Michigan. I did a video about this one about a month ago. I decided it was not for me. I really like the property. I think it was an amazing looking short-term rental. I think at the right price, I want to own this property. But I decided, if you watch that video to the end, spoiler alert, I didn't buy any. Um, which I think I'd already let you know that. So that spoiler alert was late. Sorry about that. But today, less than 1 month after being on the platform, a couple people, because I checked the wallets that they came from, a couple people sold a whole bunch of tokens at $40. So $40 was still more than I want to pay for this property, but it's getting close, right? And so I didn't have to pick this up then. I was patient. If that 40 had been in my range, I already would have had a chance to get into this one. Um, what so I'm not telling you that to say like, hey, look, I was right about this one, right? The price still could go up from here. But the point is that I'm not trying to pick this one. There were a whole bunch of people that bought tokens in this one, picked this as this is one that I'm going to own, and I'm going to, the people that put a chunk in this, and as one of three or one of five properties that they own. And we are. I think that's there's no reason in this ecosystem to focus your risk so narrowly. And I think that anybody that bought these big chunks and sold out today, this person lost 20% on those. They bought them for 50. They actually lost more than 20 because they paid transaction fees in both the purchase and sale, right? And so I don't know what their situation was. There's nothing really wrong with this property, so that's not. It's not like they made a huge mistake, and I'm like, haha, this is I look at what you did, dumb, right? I mean, but it is, um, the asking price is already back to 50. But I think right now, if there were one of the liquidity pool market makers for this, I don't see a lot of people buying at 50 when they know, okay, there's going to be some $40 sellers at some point again, which tends to happen, right? Like once you start to get some sellers to the low end, there were these 40s, and then a couple of people sold at 42.50, and then 40s again. Apparently those are all sold out, and the only thing available is at 50, but there hasn't been a sale that high, right? And so what I think people should be doing, and this is what I'm doing. And again, I mean, you have to really look at, is this the right thing for you to do? And maybe you don't have the time to do due diligence on a whole bunch of properties. Um, and I think that's a legitimate answer. And if that's the case, maybe this isn't the right ecosystem, or maybe it's not the right type of platform for you, right? Maybe there's something different to do. But so like so far, I have tokens in 27 different ones. I've actually had some where I've bought and sold out of already. I'm trying to analyze new ones all the time. Um, I've got 27 on Lofty. I've only got two on Mogul. They've had a lot less. options since I got on here. But then on ground floor, I've got 85 loans right now. And I think that I've had, let's see, if I look at my summary, I've had, yeah, okay, I actually have 86 and I've had 13 that have paid off already, right? So I've bought 99 loans on this platform. I've been on it about 4 months. So far this year, I've bought 10 loans on this platform and uh, three properties on Lofty, right? We're a week into the year, 9 days, but at the 1 week point, I'd already done that. Um, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm saying it to, to show like it's really pretty easy to do that, especially, ground floor. You don't have to have a ton of money to do this, right? If you wanted to say, okay, every week I'm going to pick up a property, or I'm going to pick up a fraction of something, right? Because the ground floor, this is loans, it's mortgages, it's not properties. But if you wanted to make a commitment to do that, okay, I don't have time to do a ton of due diligence um, all the time. Like Joe's just sitting here on his couch doing nothing else. His business runs itself basically, so that's not me. Maybe that's what you're thinking. And that's fine. I have a lot of fun going through these, and if that's not you, it doesn't have to be. But if what's stopping you is money, like the issue that I would say is like there's a ton of people that think, oh, I want to buy at least 10 tokens, I want to buy 25 tokens, I want to put at least, and I actually am guilty of this. When I started looking through these, I'm like, oh, I'm going to put $1,000 in each property. And then I realized like, hey, I want to just get one. I am still just experimenting, so I thought I'd just buy 10 properties and then go with that, and just see how it goes for a year. But I realized like, oh, there's so many different situations on here, and so many different types of opportunities that I wanted to just keep buying some. And the other thing is, there's not always $1,000 worth of cheap tokens, right? Like some of these that I only own 12, or well, this one that I own one is because I'm selling out of it. Um, well, some of the ones that I own a lot of, it's because it only dropped to that price once that I caught it, right? And so, but in any case, it's pretty easy, if you wanted to do ground floor and just buy one loan a week, you can put a minimum of $10 in. You only need $520 for the year, right? Like I think that that's a pretty achievable for almost anybody, right? $10 a week to put into something. I think if you're watching this, you probably have more money than that you're looking to invest. But if you're, and I think that would be, for me, that's a better strategy, right? Like I took some lump sums and bought a little bit of every loan that was available, but I'm going to continue to put money into here. One of the reasons I haven't done it yet is that I just keep getting loans paying off, and so I've been continually putting money into every loan that's on here. But over time, I'll this is the site I think I'm the most comfortable with so far. So even though I have less money than on Lofty, there's just less to do on it, right? But I think over time I'll put more and more on here. But so it's very easy to pick up very wide diversification on this platform. On Mogul, it's super tough, right? I mean, they've had since I started buying. I don't even think this was available. I think these are the only three properties that have been available since I started looking at this. But I picked up, this is the only one I'm super excited about. This one, I think I talked about. I bought less of it, and I did it because, I got some discounts because they do like different deals where the first couple shares I got in it were because if I bought so much of this, they gave me some of that, and then I bought some more when I get another like free $50 to buy 250 of it or something. So they're doing like little deals like that will really boost your return if you think about how that works, right? Like if I'm getting an extra 5% or an extra 20% or whatever it is. So like this one would be a little bit tougher, if you just picked this one platform and we're trying to buy properties every week. And the reason I'm talking about it every week is because I think that that's the answer, right? I think there's a lot of people um, that just take, or I think it's one way that you could go about doing this, right? Like I think a lot of people just have this lump sum of money and they're like, I'm going to pick a property and then I'm just going to buy all, put all my money in that property, or I'll pick four properties because I have enough to divide. And I think that a lot of people, and this is, what I'm doing, would be better off buying consistently every single week, right? Like identifying what properties you think right? And you don't have to. So, like what I'm doing slowly is identifying every property that I want to buy a piece of on this platform, and at what price I'm okay with buying that. And then, so a lot of times, just like this one, those properties come up. I do my analysis, and the token price is more than I want to pay for this one. Um, and that's one of the things that's great about this platform is that those prices fluctuate considerably, and if you're patient, you can pick them up. And so, what I'm doing basically each week is just buying whichever tokens are the best deal, on the days that I'm going in and looking to buy, or when I get alerts that something that because you can, I think I've showed you that before. If you look at the marketplace, I always do it behind me here on this thing. You got to hit that little guy there. When you look on here, if you click these little buttons, right, I've got alerts set up for a whole bunch of them. When any of those dip in price, I get an email, I log on, and if I haven't invested everything that I already want to for that week, I go ahead and buy some, right? And so I think that strategy, I'm not, even though I've picked some properties that I'm doing it with, my goal isn't to pick the best property and to just back up the truck on that one. Oh yeah, there's my account button there. The the goal is to, I thought I had frozen it. Sorry about that. The goal is to pick as many properties as I think I can invest in profitably, right? Like I don't necessarily need every one to be the absolute best property because the problem is what if I'm wrong, right? Like if I the reason I'm attracted to this is I have the ability to get really wide diversification. Now, I am trying to make some intelligent decisions here, and I could be wrong, right? But what I'm trying to do, and I talked about this in one of the other videos of risk versus reward that I did, but I'm trying to rule out the ones that are more clearly losers to me. And by not picking those ones, you know that's what I want to see. Like, okay, if the decisions I'm making, if I'm wrong, what's the repercussions, right? And by not picking those ones, I might miss out on some additional return I could have made. But by but and also by choosing the ones that I do pick, I certainly could be wrong, and I could lose money on them. There's some of these that have gone down in value since I bought them. They might not be yielding anything. It might be difficult to push them to a sale like I was hoping for. There's things that can go on. But if my goal, for each one of them, if I have eventually 100 on here, and I won't get to 100 until Lofty has probably 1,000 properties on the marketplace, right? Like, it's not that I'm thinking I'm going to just diversify into their whole portfolio, right? Like everything that's available. I'm still being pretty discerning. I'm trying to get either a good discount or really good real estate or some combination. A lot of the ones that I have so far, it's more about the discount to the real world value than it is about the market or the property itself. Um, I think that, which is very different than how I'm picking ones on Mogul, but it just has to do with the way the platforms are set up. But it's by not having to be right, right? Like I could be wrong many more times and still do well if I pick 30 properties and I'm wrong on a couple of them. Um, I'm okay with that. Where if I pick three and I'm wrong on one, I might be really hurting, right? Like, I mean, I might wipe out all my return and not make some money. So I think that to me is the more rational strategy is because we're presented with this ability to get really wide diversification to try to maximize that as much as possible. And I mean, you can see I have some concentration in some properties. I have a whole bunch relative to the rest of the ones I have in Odom. Not as much as it looks like because, they're doing this value. Um, think this is, they do that value. That's not based on market price, right? Or is it? Maybe that is based on market price. Let's see. 310 times. Have I put that much in here already? Oh yeah. Okay. So it is. So yeah, I've put almost a quarter of the money that I have in that one property. that I have on this platform. That would be unfortunate. But sorry if that, I know I'm in a different stage of investing from a lot of people that are watching, so I don't mean to belittle that amount of money, but it is this one is one that I just think is presenting uh it's a good discount, but also a market that I really like. And so that combination, it's the only spot that exists on this platform so far that I've identified. And so, yeah, every time this one dips, I've been buying some. So I ended up accumulating more in that than I realized, or that I've really thought much about. But overall, I'm spread out pretty widely. And over time, I'm hoping to just get more and more, right? And it's going to be um, I'm also looking for more platforms. Like I said, ideally, I'd like to have 4 or 5 platforms, that each of which, I'd be spreading a decent amount of capital into, over time. And I think the way to do that is to just consistently, every single week buy. And so one of the things that I've been thinking about doing is a lot of the people on some of the different groups, that they get together through YouTube or something, they have like accountability groups or little challenges. And I'm considering doing something like that, if some other people were interested, thinking about, like a 52-week challenge where over the next year we just commit, like we're going to buy something every single week, and whether that's something, a $10 loan on Groundfloor, or a $25 token, or, I think Mogul's minimum investment is $250. Whatever it is, just to commit to doing that. I'm definitely going to do it. But if there are other people that want to, want to jump on that, jump in with me, do it, um, you know, talk about it, share what we're getting. Yeah, I think it might be useful for some people. I've seen, I know a decent amount of people do these accountability groups, when they're buying real estate in general, and I think it's pretty popular there because it's like, buying whole properties is a tougher mindset because you've got to really be willing to jump and stick a big chunk of money, into individual properties. But I think this one is, I think this ecosystem is such that, and I keep calling it that because I don't really know how else to refer to it. But I think that, fractional real estate investing in general is such that you really have to shift from that mindset of like, okay, analyzing tons of deals, picking one, going all in on that, to analyzing tons of deals, picking a bunch because we don't have to be right every time. We can spread it out. Um, Really have any losses hurt us minimally, and not have that sort of concentration of risk. And so, I think from anybody who's like me coming here from, the real estate world, it is a definite mindset shift to like, I might in a busy year buying 3 or 4 properties for myself was about the where I maxed out. Like I know there's bigger investors that would buy, a house. I had clients even that, would buy, um, I don't know, a house every couple of months, or a lot of them had a goal of a house a month and had a hard time hitting that. Some of them wanted to buy a fourplex every quarter, and then you get, so many units a year, whatever the goal is. But it was always like, a sprint, get a property, and then take some time off, get it stabilized. And I think a lot of people are looking at fractional investing with that kind of mindset that like, oh, I'm going to pick the property, I'm going to go all in on it. And then what they do is they just keep investing in that same property, right? Like they just, okay, these are my 5 properties, and every time I have some money, I'm accumulating a little bit more in that property. Um, and I think that that's fine if it's more properties, right? If it's not 5, if it's not 3, if it's 10, I think you start to actually benefit from some of that diversification. 25, and at a certain point it becomes too many, right? Like there's because you will, I don't think I'll ever have hundreds of properties because I still want to read every update that happens. um, I want to, actually have done due diligence on everyone. do periodic, looking through my portfolio and seeing, if I have underperformers and getting rid of some. So, I think having too many, it will get a little bit unwieldy. And the same thing with platforms, right? Like, I think I'll end up investing in four or five, but even if there's a whole bunch of similar sites that come out, I'm never going to be investing in 10 or 20 platforms, right? I think I want to, I do think the platform risk is real and I want to diversify that a little bit. But I think that more so, um, I think that to a certain extent, it just gets too cumbersome depending on how much time you spend on this. But I think certainly property wise, more is better, right? And it doesn't mean it's got to be more money. It just means, it might mean putting even less money in each thing. And I think one of the challenges for a lot of people doing that is to still take that purchase serious, right? Like if all I'm doing is buying, one token a week and it's a $25 purchase, it doesn't seem like a huge investment to some people. And, maybe I'm just kind of YOLOing into deals. And I think that is even more dangerous. And I think it's probably how a lot of these properties sold out early on, because if you remember, every one of these 22, 25, 27, $18 tokens that I own, somebody paid $50 for those at one point in time. And so that was somebody who bought something and was wrong. And hopefully, and unfortunately, if they bought every property on the platform during that time period, they would have lost money on almost every single one. And so hopefully they didn't put all their money on this one platform at that time. And maybe there weren't other real estate, Groundfloor has existed the whole time. And so maybe, hopefully they had some money over there, or maybe in stocks or bonds or somewhere else, right? I mean, they're just, um, it's just really the concentration of risk that I see, in real estate in real life. You just can't avoid it. And, I've always been in one or two markets. I've never been someone who bought a bunch of stuff remotely. And so, you just kind of get used to that concentration of risk. And it's worth it to me because of all the reasons that real estate's a great deal to begin with. And so I was okay with it, even though, regardless of what the strategy I was employing at the time, I would pick a market. It'd usually be the market that I lived in, and that's where I'd look for deals. That's where I'd work, and try to make deals happen. And so, um, I think a lot of people just kind of have gotten, get that idea. Like, there's people that are like, oh, I'm going all in on the Quad City properties, or I'm going all in on the Chicago market. And and it's great, you get to learn that market, and maybe you get to do a little bit better picking one property over another. But I think that concentration of risk, there's no reason to do it on platforms like this, because you have, um there's no real barrier. There's nothing stopping us from buying stuff in four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, any unlimited amount of markets if you have the time, right? And at the moment, the biggest, um, the biggest thing stopping me from being in more markets is there's only so many good deals on the platform, right? There's, a lot of the stuff, to me, appears to be overpriced relative to the value of the projects, or their leverage is set up in a way that I'm not happy about, right? So there's a reason, I only have 27 so far, and I've probably looked through, I don't know, I'm probably halfway through their platform worth of, they've got like 150 properties. I'm probably really have done a pretty deep dive into 75, 80 of them. Um, but like I said, my goal, I'm gonna pick up properties. I'm at a bare minimum, I'm going to buy one fraction a week, whether that's a fraction of, whether that's a token on Lofty, piece of a property, shares in a property on Mogul, um, some loan on ground floor. And I think I'm just going to keep doing that, at least for this year. That's going to be my strategy. Obviously, if it turns out that that's problematic, in some way, or if I run out of cash, who knows? I mean, there's obviously, if I discover one or more of the platforms are a real problem, um, it might change what I do. But I think that just having that sort of goal, right? Like I've always in real estate had acquisition goals, and I think it's important to do something similar to that on here. Otherwise, I think I've actually talked to some people who spend a ton of time looking at this site, spend a ton of time in the Discord, um, and really have only bought one or two properties. And maybe, and sometimes have put a decent amount into it, and sometimes not really, but have, just sort of not really not taking advantage of the ability to just spread that out in a way that I think is just going to be beneficial, right? I mean, if you're just trying to pick the one lottery winner on the platform, um, you're it's a lot, you're just opening yourself up to losing, it's easier to lose that way than if you're, trying to spread it out over several, as long as you've really done your due diligence and you think that each one is a good deal, right? And that way, um, and then identifying ones like we did, like I mentioned in the beginning, identifying ones that you think this is a property I really want. It's in an interesting market. There's all these things I like about it. But I picked X price, and so when it shows up at that price, then I'm going to jump on it. I know that is. Sorry about that. I didn't. It wasn't my screen recorder's fault this time, as it usually is. I actually opened a window to Discord, but it was a conversation that I think the other person would hope it would be private and not show up on a video. So I just cut that out. And it took me a little while to figure out because I'm not awesome at editing on here. But what I wanted to show you was this. This is what I thought I had open. Um, and we've looked at this before, but you see these sell order live feeds, right? And so if you've identified properties that you'd like at a certain price, if you don't want to have alerts set up because you don't want a bunch of emails, you can a couple times a day or once a week. If you wait once a week, you'll miss the really good deals. But if you look at these every day at a set time, you'll pick up on a lot. And this is just in the Lofty Discord. They have this sell order live feed. And this is all the limit orders that pop up. So this is one way to get good deals on the ones that are primarily being sold as limit orders. I guess that doesn't really help you with the ones that have market orders. So you do have to have the alert set up. I forgot about that. You really need to do both if you want to, just find those deals regularly. Because the alerts don't necessarily show you. I don't know that they really show you the change in market price. At some point, they will get the limit orders and the market orders to sync up, but they haven't done that yet. They've talked about it a little bit. But in any case, if you're spending a little time on it, and if you don't have 20 properties like I do, right? If you as you're slowly building it, it won't be as cumbersome. But at a certain point, you might, and you'll get, I probably get 4 or 5 emails a day from Lofty, saying, "Hey, this one is now discounted. This has had a I don't know. I think if it's a 5% move or something. This had a certain percent move down. Um, it tells you the price. Obviously, if you don't want to see those emails too often, you can always have rules set up in your email so they just go into a certain folder and you look at them a couple times a week or whatever it is. You can miss some of the good deals, but that's one thing. I try to not let that stop me. Sometimes I'll log in, I see that it traded at $18. My average basis is 25, and that's a price I'm happy with. And now it's moved from the 18 up to 22. Part of me feels like, oh, I don't want to buy it at 22. Somebody else got it at 18, but I still always buy it because it's rational, right? It's below my price that I'm happy with. Um, and so, I think that's, I guess, the bottom line. And then I'm gonna wrap it up. And I do want to talk to you about a couple other things, but the bottom line is this. I think is much less of a sprint and rest investment like real estate is in the real world, and this is much more about just true consistency. Because you just never know which ones are gonna be a deal, right? Like, I mean, I had bought some of, let's see, I don't own, is that the one? That's not the one. Yeah, I had bought a couple tokens in this one, and then a few days later, bam, there were some that popped up quite a bit lower, and I just snatched those up because I knew they were within my price, and and I hadn't invested everything I wanted to yet that week, and so I just grabbed it, and so I'm going to be doing more and more of that, and I think that that's the consistency of it, in my opinion, is what's going to make it so. Uh, I'll have the best chance of having a truly diversified portfolio, but at the same time also getting some of the best deals on the platform, right? Because the other problem is if you just pick one and you put your lump sum in, you're just stuck buying it at whatever price it is, right? Or if you only have three properties, the chance of one of those three giving you a good discount at any given time, um, is not fantastic, right? Like there's some people that are just like, oh, I buy X amount of this property every week or every month, every time I get paid, whatever it is. And if you're doing that, and you only have three or four properties that you choose from, or you're just trying to accumulate in just one property, you're just you're at the mercy of whatever the price of that property is that day. But if you have 25 properties that you're buying, um, you can start to accumulate whichever one is the best deal at any given time. You might run into problems like where I am with Odom right now, where I just have been putting more into there than anything else. Um, for me, I don't think it's a big problem because, at the moment, the amount that I'm putting on all of these sites, I'm trying to just really experiment. At a certain point, I do think I'll put a significant amount of my net worth on here, and then I'll definitely be a little bit more careful about how much I'm spreading stuff out. I really am trying to, and that's one of the things too I want to mention, right? Like I'm giving advice like I know exactly what I'm doing. I've been investing in real estate for a long time, but I've been investing in fractional real estate for 4 or 5 months now, right? I mean, it's new for, there's nobody that's been doing this for 20 years. Like I have been in real estate. Maybe there's people certainly who have been on some of these platforms longer than me, but like 3 or 4 years. Maybe you were a ground floor investor for the last 10. I think that's about the longest anybody could have been in fractional real estate. Um, there were other, back when they were really just calling it crowdfunding real estate, which is interesting. I hardly ever hear that term anymore. But it is, I think that maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I definitely don't think we were doing it 20. I think that it's a pretty new industry, and so there's a lot that we're going to have the ability to learn over time. Things are going to keep changing. But I think that in general, certain fundamental principles of investing should hold true. And, one is, um, there's certain benefits of diversifying, but, and this is, again, this is very much me thinking, I always keep this book over here because I love to read it quite a bit, right? Like always going back to what this guy is thinking about, right? And um, he talks, it's Howard Marks and talks about, you know, buying a broad group of assets and just trying to kick out losers, right? I mean, it's not buying the whole, I'm not going to buy, even though I want diversification, I'm still going to use my mind and try to rule some of them out, right? And that's, um, depending on how successful I am at that, that should move my average returns above the market average, without having, but I think like, when people talk about you can't beat a broadly diversified, you can't beat an index. It's usually people that are trying to buy five or 10 stocks and trying to beat an index. And, the reason people can't beat them long term is because, it's hard to consistently pick those winners. Um, he's somebody who for a very long time has had above average returns, and it's because he's been good at kicking losers out of the portfolio, and he's also looking at different assets. He's not. He's a credit, investor. But anyway, I think that that's all I really want to say about that. The other thing, um, I've been trying to have some notes here. So the other thing I wanted to mention, I've got a couple of people have asked for, some other info. I'm going to do, talk a little bit about what I think is in it for the owners of some of these properties. And I did some video about this not too far back where what happened there? That was weird. Are we still recording? We are. I think my computer tried to go to sleep. I didn't realize it would do that. Um, sorry. So, uh, I tried to look at this. Some of the deals, it really doesn't even make sense why the co-owners would bring it onto the platform in the manner that they are when they're doing certain rent credits and whatnot. Um, until you start to think about, well, maybe they're selling it for more than they would otherwise. Um, so I'm going to try to talk a little bit more about that. If anybody who's watching this is actually on that side and is interested in talking about it, one, if you want to be on the channel, I'd love to do that. Or if you just want to talk a little bit offline and answer a couple of questions I have about it, I'm going to do my best to share, but it's really just from what I've picked up from other people. I haven't brought one on here yet. I've thought about doing it, but I just don't really think that I want to. I think for me, for the point I am in life, I think I'm going to be moving more and more passive over the years, and I've done that a lot by moving almost all of my money into private mortgages instead of actually the real estate. Buying real estate, selling, and holding the note. I haven't talked about that on here in a little while, so you might not know that. I did that because it's a much more passive, investment. But I think to be a co-owner on here, and start to be responsible for a property for some other people, I think that's moving in the wrong direction for me personally. If I were a young guy starting out and trying to, really build a portfolio and maybe have some fee business where I'm getting paid, that might make some sense. So I'm going to try to share some insights into what's going on with that. And then the other thing that I've got coming up is where I'm going to do the next one I'm going to do, and this is not really news, but this Baltimore property just popped up. I think there's a lot of reasons it's interesting, so I think that'll probably be the next one that I do tomorrow. But as always, if there are questions that you have about any of the stuff I've talked about, um, any of the platforms I've looked at, uh, and then the one other thing is that I am going to go ahead and put some money on Saul's lot and see what that looks like. It's going to be much smaller because it is. I haven't fully wrapped my head around exactly what the risk is on that site, and they're a very new site, and so it is going to be a true experiment. But if you have any questions about any of that stuff, or even real estate investing in general, it is what I do in my day job is help investors find and buy properties in San Antonio, Texas. So, happy to share any of that info as well. Uh, but yeah, it's been great lately. I've gotten a lot more questions from viewers, and some of you are just doing it in comments. Some of you are reaching out through Discord. Some of you have found my email, which is interesting. You can always find me on Twitter. I use my same name on there, and my handle's just at J and my last name. I'm on there all the time, and I know it's X now, but I still say Twitter because I'm an old guy. Um, that now is everything I wanted to talk about. And so, if you want to jump on this 52-week challenge with me, let me know if you think that's a good idea. If you think it's stupid, tell me that too, because I definitely have some stupid ideas. And, my wife is too nice to me to tell me most of the time until I realize for myself that, oh, that was a dumb idea. So, feel free to jump in and tell me that. But until next time, I'm going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.